Welcome back to another great episode of Comedians in Bed, where comedians can be comedians. And I honestly don't know what that means, but it just sounds like something that you should say on a podcast. And as always, I got another great comedian here for you. Always know I got to give them a great introduction. Now, if you don't know her, it could be possible that your kids know her because she's just in both type of lanes for comedy for adults and for kids. If you don't know her, you might have seen her along the streets of New York. If you don't know her, guess what? You're going to know her today because that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to showcase and bring light to very talented comedians, just like the one that we have here today. She's nothing short of amazing. Please, everybody, give it up for Alexis Bradby, everybody. Black Girl Magic. Sprinkle it on there. Black Girl Magic.
It's too much. Stop, everyone. Stop the applause. Oh, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. It was like raining in New York this morning, so I woke up and I was like, I'm such like I just hit a year here, but I was in LA where it never rains. So
Yeah.
And it has rained consistently every single week here, and I do not want to get out of my bed.
Man, people keep telling me that I need to move to LA. And for one, I'm not trying to be that broke again. And for two, it doesn't rain there. I love the rain. The rain, to be honest, like that's when I do my best writing. Like I'll call off work if it's going to rain all day just to write. I don't know what it is. I just love it.
You're built different. You're built in a good way. I think you're built in a better way for life than I am. Wait, where do you live? I
live in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay, so that has like normal weather, I guess.
Yeah. I actually looked it up. There's a term for people who love rain. I can't pronounce it, but it's like it's actually a term for it. And I actually looked it up too. It rains more here than it does Seattle. So I'm like, cool. Because I was definitely thinking about moving to Seattle just so I can be in more rain. I love rain. I don't know what it is.
I'm already in the most rainy city in America. No need to move. That's nice. I love that for you. And I will never come to Columbus, Ohio. I just learned.
What's going on, man? No, man, I had to have you on here. I don't really have too many talented women on this show. I don't really know what the disconnect is, man. But you're a New York comic now, fresh from LA. Why the move to New York City?
It's also I don't know if I'm a New York comic or if I'm an LA comic is up for
debate
because my friends on both the coast claim me. Like here, they're like, you're here now, and LA is like, you still one of us. And I'm like, okay, I'm out. But I moved out here during right before the strikes, the writer strike and the actor strike, because I was working on a show, Tab Time, and we were like wrapping up in March. But we knew the strike were coming, and all the writers, they all knew I did stand up. And I was like, yeah, like during the strike, I might go to New York for a bit and hang out. They're like, we're going to be striking at least 6 months. You should definitely do that. And so I came, and then post-strike, I just haven't bounced back into working in that field yet. So I'm just hanging out here. But I'm trying to go back to LA if I can. I don't know. My life is
that's what's up. Hey, life is an adventure, man. That's what's up. How was the strike for you? I know that was a hard time for a lot of people. It shut LA down. How was the strike for you?
Yeah, I don't really know, because for me, I was coming out here knowing the strike was happening, so I was already on a mindset of like, let me just get some part-time jobs. Like no part of my brain was like, let me just spend every cent that I own, you know?
Yeah.
So I immediately was working at a gym and a restaurant. And so I would go to the picket lines when I could. Also, I just want to go on the record and say, I'm not WGA, I'm IATSE. So technically my union was not on strike, but we're in support of them. So
yeah,
I was going to those. But it was a good time to network, which sounds awful, but it's nobody was doing nothing because baby, you ain't got no job right now. So
yeah. That was crazy, seeing everybody pick. I have some friends that was out there too. Every other 3 years, 5 years, there's a new deal that needs to be strike. How do you stay secure in your job as a writer?
Oh, it's not secure at all. Oh, it's not secure. You could get a job as a staff writer, have it written by on Abbott Elementary, and then you could never write again. That's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't happen. You hope that it doesn't, and you hope that you work hard and connect with people. But this is such like, I don't think people are so critical of media these days, but I don't think people understand just how hard it is to get something actually produced and made and on a screen. It's like a lot of projects get sold and developed and then left for dead. Like it's so I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I think even just being in it one time is like a million miles further than most people will ever get who have the desire. So I'm grateful for what
Yeah,
I've
man.
done so far and hope I can do it again.
I feel like during maybe before the pandemic, but with all these streaming services, it's so much content out there, and it's so hard to like stay on top of like your favorite show. You might be like, okay, I got four other shows I want to watch it for this one, and then when you get to that one, the season's not renewed because nobody watched it. So like, how do you keep track with all the content? Because I'm over here drowning. Like I'm trying to watch Reba. I'm trying to
Oh,
watch
yeah, goodness.
because I like studying older sitcoms because I aspire also to be a TV writer. So I try to see how like character development.
Sitcoms.
Yep, yep,
That's what I do. Yeah. And I think it's a good field, especially for young Black people, because they need us.
yeah,
Like I think in my like writer's bio that like my people send out to try to help me get jobs, I think it says like she's the only Black woman under 30 who has a desire to work in multicam, because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to write old school like, "Hey dad, what are you doing home early?" Like nobody likes that kind
yeah.
anymore. They want to do Abbott and Insecure and like that kind of style. So I think if you do enjoy naturally writing that, it's a smart move because nobody else wants to do it.
I mean, I like Insecure and stuff, but like and those type of sitcoms, but I don't know, like it's just growing up in it. It's kind of like nostalgia. But then like one sitcom that I watched that is pretty. It's kind of like that, but not, but kind of got more of an edge to it is the Upshaws. I feel like the Upshaws is like the only, well, not the only one, but one of the sitcoms that I watch that kind of gives me like that familiar '90s vibe a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I have to sneeze. Sorry, I had
Yeah.
to sneeze. Oh my gosh.
Hey yo, shout out to the fingers because you hit that mute button like right on cue.
Maybe it's from like being on Zoom for so long that I'm just traumatized. And I'm like,
Oh man, that's funny.
sorry about that. I'm disgusting.
Stay off the weed.
You warned me that the sounds were coming, and I was just like, "Whoa, what is happening?" That was fun. I didn't really hear what you said. I heard weed. I don't know what else.
What's like some sitcoms that you enjoy or content that shows that you like watching?
I'm like you. I like to do a lot of research of older because, like you said, there's not a lot of Upshaws. A show I worked on as a PA, Family Reunion. I don't know if you watched that one. So there's few and far between now, but I like to watch old ones. I'm working on a script that is I like to watch one-on-one a lot because mine is kind of mirroring that a little bit. So I like to watch one-on-one. I love a smart guy. That's so Raven, like all the classics, just like generational families together, because that's what my wheelhouse is too. So I like to watch a lot of those. Also, you said Reba. I saw that. I was like, honestly, the Reba show was just from the theme song, I sing about like such a good show. I'm glad she gets her.
I'm working on a joke about Reba. I still can't get it right. Like Reba's white, but she actually lives a Black woman's life. Like, she's a single mom. Like the dad just pops up whenever he wants. He got the side chick. Like it's really like a Black woman's life. And I kind of feel like that's why Black people kind of like the show. Like, I mean, it's funny, but like it's more kind of like relatable. I actually studied Smart Guy, One-on-One as well. I actually like One-on-One. One-on-One. I mean, I know it was funny back then, but like when you watch it back, like it is fucking hilarious, especially like season 2 and 3, like just fucking crazy. How does one get into TV writing? Because the way I see that I have to do it is I have to go back to college, get an internship, become a PA, and work my way through. Is that the right way to become a TV writer, or is there another way to do that?
I always tell people who are like over 30, like, don't be a PA. I'm like, just write and try to get samples and try to just get in as a writer. I'm like, ain't there's no need for people of color to continue to keep going to the bottom of the totem pole when other people are not doing that. So I think if I was like, especially if I was someone who didn't live in New York or LA, I would just be like working on my writing and like getting it together and then trying to do like some virtual meetings or entering contests or some other kind of thing that doesn't require you having to give people coffee and being like the bottom of the totem pole. Because you can get stuck down there. You can really get stuck. People in my position, like, you can do like 10 years. 10 years as a writer's assistant. And that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's super crazy.
I would not do that personally. But
now, you told me that you wrote on Tab Time and iCarly. How was those experiences? And then like is a very that's a wide spectrum. We got kids shows to Tab Time. So like how was it working on both of those gigs?
Ironically, Tab Time is the kids show. I mean, iCarly is like, I worked on iCarly like the reboot where they're like grown-ups. So that one was more so less for adults. And Tab Time is more like a Mr. Rogers vibe. So that's actual babies. And I think the difference is just the nature of the room. One, the size of it. Like one was for like Paramount Plus and one was for YouTube. So it's like the size of the room, the size of the production, how like just those were different. Also the style of it. I feel like for iCarly, it was run, I don't want to say like old school style, but like low key, where it's like you have different levels of like the executives and then the producer level, then the staff writers, then the assistants. And even though it's such a nice room, it's so sweet, everybody's so kind, I can still feel that it's like there is a pecking order here and I should not talk that much, you know? Versus in Tab Time, it was more like, oh, this is really about feelings and magical and we're trying to help these children. And so like the vibes were just more like, how do you guys feel? Like, I don't know. It was both sweet. But yeah, they were different. And just, yeah, the timing. iCarly with the hours were way crazier in Tab Time. It just was less crazy.
Yeah. How, so I've only been in, I worked on like an independent script. I don't know if she ever got it off the ground or not. I'm pretty sure that she did, but how is working in a writer's room? Because my first time working in a writer's room was probably like the by far worst experience I've ever had in my life. So how is it working in a writer's room? And yeah, what was that experience like?
Yeah, definitely some tears. Yeah, I feel like if you're not crying, you're not doing it right. I don't know what to know. I'm sure some people don't cry, but especially like the big ones, like less so for, I mean, I don't know if I cried for Tab Time. If I cried, it's because it was like touching, like because that show is just so, she's such an angel of a woman in real life and on the show that like, even those for kids, like just reading the script and having it be like, and it's okay if you don't know what's going on, and that's all right, that's your business. And I'm like, it's all right, Miss Tab. So that's that versus iCarly. I would cry from like, just like, you just get notes. Like you said, it can be rough. It's hard because it's like you're in there, you're like, oh, it's my dream job. But then it's like, it's 11:30 on Tuesday and I have to be back here in the morning. And that works. So it's like, sometimes you have those nights. But it's also fun. And I think the people in the room can make a difference. I think if everybody... Also, ours was weird because it was like cusp of COVID. It's like we're still kind of zooming it, but some of us are in the office, and so people are on Zoom for like 12 hours, and that's a different versus like physically being in a room.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and I learned a lot. I got some jokes to make it on the show, and it was just cool to that. I will say that's the one good part of starting as an assistant is it kind of helps with like the imposter syndrome because it's like, well, I don't really got to say nothing anyways. So it's like, if I'm not saying it, then it's fine. Versus I feel like if you go straight into it as a staff writer, it's like your job is to pitch stuff. So it's like, it could probably be a little nerve wracking, but yeah, it's really fun experience. And I mean, coming up with jokes all day, like it's a dream, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard because for sitcoms, the jokes are very specific. It's like, what is the funny thing she says that moves the story forward and also makes sense right here? So.
Yeah. Why? How important is it for a comedian to have another job? I always tell people like you should know how to screenwrite, you should know how to act because it can be beneficial to you. I mean, it's cool if you love comedy. Some people just think you're going to get, paid from that, and you can get paid. But if you want to make more, you have to do more. So why is it important for another comic to have another tool under their belt?
I think nowadays, especially in like the digital age where it's just like people are multi-hyphenate. So it's like, it's very rare to find someone who does one thing. Unfortunately, because they forced us into this with social media and like we all have to be editors and actors and all of it anyways. So I do think it's important. I think that's what like managers and agents, I think that's what they're looking for. I think, their goal at the end of the day, like, yeah, they're trying to help you, but they're also trying to make money themselves. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's easy to make money if I can pitch you as like, oh, she does this, she does this, she does that, versus like, she only does this. And she's not very well known for it, but she does it. And so I think it just helps you out. Even though I wanted to just do stand up, I don't want to do all the other stuff. But then like you just realize over time, you're like, well, you gotta do it. But if I could pick, I would just do stand up. Like I would delete social media and never do any of the other things and just do stand up forever.
And how did you get into it? Did somebody see your, stand up and was like, hey, I got an opportunity here? Or was it something that you looked for?
For writing?
Yeah.
I was just doing stand up. I wasn't trying to write or act or anything else. And then in 2020, when all the Black Lives Matter stuff was popping, Hollywood was like, oh, wait, we ain't got no Black people. And so then there's all these like programs that started, like where writers were trying to mentor, like trying to do their people feel guilty, so they're trying to do their part. And so I did a program, connected with this writer. Have you heard of this old sitcom? It's not old, but it's like probably 2000s, Baby Daddy.
No, I haven't heard. The show?
It's a show.
Yeah, I heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like one of my favorites. Like I pretty much watched every episode. So I connected with the writer through a program called, there was two programs. It was like Connect the Writers and Hollywood Here. And I think through Hollywood Here, I connected with the writer from Baby Daddy. We were talking, connected. I love the show. So it's like, it was easy to talk to him because I was just like, oh my God, I love this show. And so he was like, I don't really have anything right now. Well, he was trying to help me become a writer's assistant there, basically.
Okay.
But I had never written anything because I hadn't thought about it. So he was like, well, I can't really help you that much. He's like, maybe I can help you be a PA. I was like, okay. And he connected me with producers, a family reunion. And I ended up quitting my job, my regular 9-to-5 at Google. She's so sad. Anyways, I quit my job and I started PAing. And then I PA'd for, I think, that show, and then iCarly. And then the second season of iCarly, I moved up to writer's assistant. And yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. But not only are you a good writer when it comes to the screenplays and the scripts, but you're also a good writer with the jokes. I mean, you were in the New York Comedy Festival? New York City Comedy Festival. How was that experience? Because you're not even from New York and you got in the fest and blew it up. Everybody was saying your name.
Oh, I don't know about that, but no, I got in it because I did another festival. It's funny, this year I didn't really apply to any comedy festivals, but last year I was applying to a bunch of them, and I did a really good one called Big Sky, which I highly recommend to people. I did Big Sky, and one of the managers from that, he was like producing a show in the festival. He's like, do you want to do the cold open? And I was like, sure. And then another comic from LA was doing her night, Brandy Denise, shout out her. And she was like, hey, you want to, I was supposed to do improv. Ironically, I was supposed to do improv on her show, but then the day of, she was like, just kidding, you're going to do stand up. And I was like, okay, it's a dirty show and I'm clean, but okay. But it was fun.
Yeah, man. How different
and
is...
my credit for that, I have to say this on a podcast in case anyone doesn't believe me. When I did a cold open, and then Mark Norman was on the show, and he was like, really funny. And I was like, thank you. So
that's one of the ones where you go back in the room or in the bathroom, nobody's watching, be like, let's go.
Yeah, I talked to the guy who, like, the manager guy, and I was like, that's going in my bio now that he said I was funny. So,
that's what's up, man. How different is doing comedy in LA versus New York?
I'll say New York is just, and obviously I get this question like every day because everybody in New York and LA is always asking me, but so I have my tight answer together. It's just a volume thing. Like, it's just so much more comedy in New York. I know right now LA's going crazy with Netflix as a joke, but like normally it ain't like that. Here it is like that every day. Probably too many shows, to be honest. We don't need all these shows, but it's a lot of shows, and I think the audiences are people have gone to comedy more here. I think in LA, often most of the audience members have never been to a comedy show, which blows my mind. Where it's like, how can we do this many shows and it's still people's first time? Versus New York, people like comedy. Like I was on the train yesterday and a woman next to me was talking to this dude. She was like, so I was thinking tomorrow we go to a comedy show, and it's like they like play, like they don't even know what show. They're just like, we like comedy, and there's so much of it here.
Yeah.
And also performing for more tourists here in LA. I feel like you're performing for people in LA, and then in New York, especially like in the city, if you go to the clubs, like it's a lot of tourists sometimes and just a different vibe. But I do love it here.
How have you grown as a comic in New York since you left LA?
I feel like I've grown, one, just from doing it so much more. Like it's just inherent. If you do something a lot, you're going to grow from it. I think I've also grown because iron sharpens iron. I'm with some of the best comedians in the world who perform 5-6 times a night. So it's like, hey, you got to rise with everyone else, or you're going to get left behind. So I think it's made me like sharp. It's also, I hate crowd work. I will be the first person to say it. I do not like talking to the audience. I didn't get up here to talk to y'all. I came up here to talk about myself. And so New York and the crowd work and the clips of it all, like this has definitely made me quicker on my feet when something goes wrong. Like I used to be like, I just stuck to the script and I never varied. It's like, well, if somebody broke a glass, it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna still talk about whatever I was just talking about. Versus now, because New York is like, it's just doing it all the time and crazy stuff. I'm much better at like, oh, something about this. Oh, what? You yelling out? What? You in love with me? Okay, ha ha ha, that's so crazy. Speaking of love, like I'm better at like getting back into it. So I definitely have gone there. Still a lot of rough sets, you know? I wish it wasn't like that, but also it's still like bad environments for comedy sometimes. It's not every show's in a club. Some are in random shops with lights all on and high ceilings and people walking past open windows. And it's like, this is not for comedy, but we're here.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. I definitely understand. Which city do you enjoy doing comedy more in, New York or LA?
Oh, that's so hard. I haven't done it in LA in so long. Well, I did it in LA in November, but I don't know. That's hard. I think I enjoy it in New York more because LA, it's like there's just too many like, not that New York, first of all, New York I think has more attractive people. I have more attractive people in New York. But LA has more like beautiful people. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Like in New York, I walk in the street, I'm like, this brother's is fine. But in LA, it's like, oh, he's very beautiful. Like that's a model. There's the literal model in my show, and he's not laughing because he has Botox, you know? Like, so I feel like LA audiences, everybody's trying to be cute. Everybody's trying to get seen. They're like, oh my God, is a celebrity in here? Am I a celebrity? And in New York, people are just wanting to laugh.
So what I heard you say was like New York got the hood niggas that I like. LA got them bougie niggas. What I hear.
I just feel like everyone knows that black women cannot date in LA because black men don't like black women in LA, and it is a fact. There's a few.
That's what I'm hearing. Like, why is it so hard to date in LA, especially for black people?
I think, well, black men, I feel like they find. I feel like black women have an issue because a lot of black men in LA are trying to be whatever, come up and everybody. Not everybody, but like, you know, society has equated your success as a black man as having a wife that is other or like extremely, you know, so it's like, oh, I'm trying to get on. Let me get this white girl like Jonathan Majors-esque, you know, and then y'all come back when you realize you messed up, when you realize you should have kept it at home. And that's that.
Hey, I'm going to tell you this. If you ever see me in person and I'm with a sugar cookie, smack me the hardest in the back of my head because I lost my damn mind. I lost my damn mind. That's what happened. I would never do that. That is so. It's not me. It's not for me. I'll just say that.
And I mean, I don't. It's like love is love, and like I don't care for real. Like if people want to date someone, but I think in LA specifically, it feels like not like, oh, this is random happenstance. It feels like very. I'm doing this on purpose, and I'm doing it every time. So that's what
and I get it. I mean, sometimes I get it, but nah, I'm okay. I'm okay. First of all, I can't do it just because, bro, they don't really age well to me. That's number one. I know that's so vain, but I just can't do the humpbacks and the lumps and the different color skin. I can't do that. I can't do that. A lot of white women comics think I hate white women here.
I could hear that. I could hear it in your tone there. There were some things said.
But I just feel like I feel like it's just they're just easy to make jokes about. It's just my being like, I don't know, maybe because I see too many white Caucasian moms here. Like Columbus is like a very I don't know anymore. Columbus used to be a family oriented city, but now it's trying to become like this huge metro city.
Is that where Dave Chappelle's club just opened up, or is that a different city in Ohio?
That's in Yellow Springs, which is outside of Dayton. Dayton's about 45, 50 minutes from here.
Oh, okay, sure, not too far. That's nice.
Yeah. All right, we talked about that. I want to talk about this show you're doing out here in New York, because who just comes from LA to New York and just put on their own show? Like, I mean, who does that? Like, how did you start that? Because some people go to a different scene. I mean, it makes sense to start your own show because you guaranteed mic time and all that type of stuff. So how did you come about this, and where did you get the idea from?
Yeah, definitely not my desire. I have no desire. I ran a show in college and I hated it. And I was like, I'll never run a show again. And I've run like some one-offs in LA, but I was definitely not trying to like run a show. But my friend, my co-host, Crystal Adams, shout out to her. I featured for her one time in LA. We both lived in LA before. And I featured for her. And she didn't tell me this, but we were driving and she was like, it'd be fun if Alexis and I had a show called Astigmatism Comedy. And then she just had that thought, but didn't tell me until we both were living in New York. And she was like, we should run a show with this title. And I laughed at the title. I was like, that's a silly title. And then, yeah, we just have been going for it. And we're trying to our show, we try to do reverse lineups. So we try to do like mostly women and then like one dude just for like diversity. So we do that and really trying to highlight Black women. Like, of course, her and I are two Black women, but we always try to have at least one. Not at least one. I feel like we try to have two per show. For sure, there's going to be another one, but I like it to be two Black women, another woman, and then a dude. Like, that's and then we'll do guest spots. We believe in guest spots. We believe, like, I think every show we have a guest spot or two, and I think every show should do that. It's like, there should be opportunity because comics come to support you. And it's like, if you're going to pull up, it's like, we like someone to get a chance to perform that day who just came to support.
That's smart. I have a guest spot. I don't do it like, okay, you're here, you go up. I don't know why I don't do that. I just kind of don't. But I do.
You never know, because someone could show up who you don't want, and it's like,
but I make sure my guest spots are to younger comics, just to give them like probably their first taste of a show, or just to get used to saying that they got a show. You know what I'm saying? So I try to give that to them. How has running a show in New York been? Like, what have you learned? What are some do's and some don'ts that you learned from producing the show or hosting the show?
We have some external producers, which I think has helped tremendously, because the first show was sold, first of all, beyond sold out. It was like the day before the show, we had 28 tickets sold. We were geeked. We were like, oh my God, 28 tickets. Like, we don't even know 28 people here. That's crazy. And then the show was about to start. She's like, oh, we're at like 50 something. And then when it all was said and done and we counted, it was like 70 people in there, it was crowded.
Yeah.
So that was amazing, because it's like, this is a room full of people came to see the show, and I don't know, like, none of y'all. Like, so versus in LA producing a show, it's like, it's me harassing my friends who I know and like people I've networked with, versus in New York, I think I won't say it's easy, because a lot of empty shows out here. But I do think that it is easier in a sense that there's just millions of people, and with marketing and like ads and newsletters and Facebook groups, I just feel like, and tourists barking on the street works here. Like, we used to run the show in a bar. It's in a bookstore now, but it used to be in a bar, and literally we would just be out there an hour before the show being like, we got a show, we got a free show. So I think it's just easier in that sense of like, there's just a plethora of people to come to your shows here versus other cities where they're like driving. You can't really get them. But in New York, you can just stop and like, hey, yo, come in here. And they're like,
yeah. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say really. I don't know you at all, but you're doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Because like, for real, you could be out here doing other shit, but you out here, chasing your dreams, doing all that shit. That's good. Like, most people just be out here listening to Meg Thee Stallion being a makeup artist. So shout out to
I
you.
listened to Meg Thee Stallion too. I was playing her all day at work. I was like, should I post this song to my story?
I ain't gonna lie, I was trying to get tickets, but the closest city to me is all sold out. So I'm like, fuck. All right, cool. But I've seen her in Glorilla before at Coachella. So I'm like,
was it fun?
oh yeah, it's fucking fun.
I love Megan, but also I'm like the person I like right now that's like his celebrity crush. So I'm like, I kind of hate her, but I also love her.
As we start to wrap this up here, I like to always ask the same questions towards the end. I'm gonna ask you. I've never asked someone this because I never had a TV writer on here before, so I'm gonna do this twice. First, who is on your Mount Rushmore for comedy?
Oh my gosh, I hate this question. Eddie Murphy. It's so hard. Oh God. I know Eddie Murphy. Freak me. No, I'm really bad at I'm so bad at narrowing it down because honestly, most of the time the comics who I love the most are not famous. It's just people who I see and I'm like, I like their but I like him. I really like this lady, Lori Kilmartin. I think she's a good joke writer. I really like her. I like Joe. I don't know. Joe Coy makes me laugh a lot. I don't know.
I like Joe Coy.
My Mount Rushmore is so diverse. I don't know. And just because I watched her so much growing up, Monique. Yeah, I don't know. This feels weird to say that because I've like never said her as one of my favorites, but I'm thinking about like founding fathers, Mount Rushmore. Like who really inspired me? Yeah, that's a very weird Mount Rushmore list I just gave.
No. Now I never asked someone this, but I'm gonna ask you this: who is on your Mount Rushmore for TV sitcoms? What shows is on your Mount Rushmore for TV sitcoms?
Ooh, easier. Okay, for sure. 101. 101. That's So Raven. My Wife and Kids.
Oh,
Bernie Mac Show.
Oh shit.
And there's honestly others, but those are probably like my top 4. Can watch all day. We'll laugh all day.
I'm gonna get mine. Hold on.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
First is Martin. Shit. You know what? I fucking love Frasier. I haven't finished it yet, but I love Frasier. I hated it growing up, but I love it now. Shit. I'll throw Living Single in there, and then I'll just wrap it up with My Wife and Kids.
Nice.
Because I'm actually studying My Wife and Kids right now. It's funny. They don't really have like, well, they do. I must say they don't really have any like character development, but they do. It's a little slow, but they do. But I like it. I like it because for real, I think maybe because I was just young, I didn't know Damon Wayans was like that big. Like it was Eddie and then it was him. Like I didn't know that big. Of course, I seen him on TVs and movies, but I didn't realize like as a comedian, this is who everybody is putting up next. So I love to go back and see like his work, even like his stand-ups. He got a stand-up special. It's a very old one. I don't even think there's a name for it. I think it was just called like HBO Live or some crap like that. He got a special on there that is just so fucking hilarious. And I just wish I could see more of his content because he's hilarious. And I will give honorable mention to the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah.
There's
so many good sitcoms. It's hard.
Yeah. What words of encouragement or advice would you give to any comedian listening to this right now?
Ooh, okay. Words of advice. Listen to your heart, which sounds stupid. No, that's not a good advice. Okay. My advice, which is what I tell myself, and I've been saying it on a lot of podcasts, but I would say that everything matters, but also nothing matters. So I do the everything matters when it's like regards to relationships or things like that. Like it's like everything matters. Like don't be a dick, like be nice, all that matters. But also nothing matters. So it's like you didn't get an opportunity, you didn't get into Netflix in a joke. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. None of it's real. Yeah. So it's like being in flow with that and realizing ultimately what's important at the end of the day. And I know stand-ups are so obsessed with stand-up and it feels like make or break. And oh my God, my life is over because I didn't get into this thing that I really wanted. But it's like, it doesn't matter. And that's okay.
I feel like you smoke weed. I feel like
I don't. I just give off stoner vibes and my eyes be closed. That's all.
it's okay. All right. Alexis, tell people why they should listen to Comedians in Bed.
You should listen to this because it's fun. You're gonna learn something, and maybe you will be inspired.
There it is, man. There it
Bing
is.
bong.
Alexis, tell people where they can find you at, man.
You can follow me on Alexis Bradby and at Alexis Bradby on everything, TikTok, Instagram, all the things. And you can follow my comedy show, Astigmatism Comedy, and we post reels, not just flyers, and other fun stuff too. So it's actually a good follow.
Hey, man, be sure to check her out. If you want to check out our next week's live episode, we go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on my YouTube page. That's TYE Comedy. And if you want to see weekly clips, you can go ahead and do so on my on this Instagram page at Comedians in Bed Podcast. Subscribe, like, review, all that good stuff wherever you listen to podcasts. Man, we want to thank Alexis for stopping by one more time. Like I said, if you don't know her, you're going to know her now. Make sure you check out her show if you're ever in NYC. We don't know if she's going back to LA, but right now, make sure you check out her show on NYC. Alexis, man, we thank you so much for your time. Guys, we'll see you next week.